My name is Ella Arcand. I was born on the reserve. I was born at home. And when I was born, Anihtaugyan, my grandpa, Alexi Arcand, was there. I was born breech, so the midwives from this reserve told my mom, that I would survive because she'd lost a lot of babies if she did something that they told her. So she gave me to my grandpa. She placed me in his arms. He named me Isquil Kisikaso. But that's my name at birth. I was just minutes old. From that time on, I was in my grandpa's household. My mom watched me from afar, I guess, and she never ever let known that I was her daughter. So when my aunts, I took them as my sisters, my real dad as my father, no, as my brother. I was 8 years old. Come to day school, Ota, on the reserve. My grandfather was a very devout, staunch Catholic. He used the RC religion to the benefit of the community as chief because of what he remembered from treaty. He was a young boy when he went with Kstawiskam. And he remembered that, and he remembered it till the day he died. So when this residential school came about to me, we had these grades, day school here from grade 1 to grade 6. And from there, we went to residential school. My Uncle Fred, former chief here, he was very good with Father Pratt. He too learned that. His dad, Louis, was my grandpa's brother. Egipik Swatakik, Imol was the other brother. That those that came here to indoctrinate us as Catholics. He remembered what was said when the residential school started with my aunties. My grandpa said, he told them, the priest, Indian agent, they came to this reserve, Kipohtakaw. Cannot forcefully take my children. I will give you the right to take my 3 girls, but not the boys. In the treaty signing, XP, they said they would train us to be self-sufficient through growing our food on the land. We clear the land. You will train these boys, farmers. My dad, Uncle Fred, Uncle Nap, not them yet. Uncle Philip and William. Egunik. Takawigi, Wyatt, and all the way down to where Linda is. Gisagak, thick bush. Epasquataygitsk. They cleared the land. Others helped. In exchange, we had a big garden. Pareros, Kisnatak. My grandpa would give it to them with their rations. And all that land was cleared. I have to go back to that because that's how residential school. We wow and Sagusak, 3 of them, Maggie, My Auntie Millian and Milleen, Mary Jane, they went to residential school there, and they came back, wow, they're acting smart. They could make bread. They could sew. You could sew cloth. But that's what they wanted them to do. You know, how to can that stuff, how to preserve it, they learned that. They worked hard. Because when they would come home, they would whitewash our log house from the inside to make it bright. But they were in residential school, but not the boys. They claimed that. They did not talk about the residential school being bad. They weren't allowed. My grandpa didn't want that. Didn't want to hear it. So when I was to enter school at 7-year-old, I couldn't speak English. So the Indian agent, Joe Morn was his name. Elgo, he came. Told my grandpa, Sko has to go to school. No, not until she can speak your language. The treaty, they said they would teach our kids to survive. So he bought a battery acid radio, hooked up. Every 4 o'clock, my grandpa turned it on. Ano sweet ako, yun, like a few weeks up down the road. Ano sweet ako, yun. Nagtasakyo. Kapix ko at kasimoin what you heard there. You will talk to him in English. Okay? He came, said, hello, Ella. I said, hello. So tell me what you heard here. I looked at him and I said, McGavin's bread, because that's all I'd hear was the commercials. So my grandpa was very sad. He drilled me, but I didn't remember anything else. After the agent left, my grandpa said, Tansi po ka, what will they do to us now? I don't know. Well, as I gave my word, you would learn. And he said, well, we'll go to the store, River Kabar, the red and white store. So we went. I could feel he was deeply hurt. I didn't learn. And we went, and he told them in his broken English what happened. And I remember vaguely I had moccasins, high-top moccasins, and a little flary flowered dress. Big braids, I had thick hair. They put me on a counter at the store. Mrs. Sheen. And my grandpa said she told him, I will teach her. You bring her 2 times a week. And I learned to speak English singing the nursery rhymes. Itsy Bitsy Spider. But I wouldn't agree with her about Jack and Jill going up the hill because I said, well, we always go down the hill to get water. But anyway, we did it her way. And the best one, my Gramps was so proud that I did was a little teapot, because I did the teapot. Midnight Mass, Christmas, he had me sing Little Teapot in English. He was so proud. I learned to speak English through those nursery rhymes from Mrs. Sheen in River Kabar. And then I came to day school that September. Then from there, when I finished grade 6, there was no place else to go. But not forgetting that we had to, learn that's what was part of the treaty. They would teach us. So I went to residential school in Hobima in 1957, 56, 57. The hardest part of that for me was the loneliness. I missed my gramps so much. The talking Cree. Our way of helping each other, working together. Him and I made, put floats on the fishing nets. Him and I built some boats, put tar, melted that. I missed that so much I would cry at night. It was no different for me for the religion, because my grandfather, like I said, was a devout Catholic. We said rosaries before we go to bed. We said rosary before we got up. When we got up. And we would sing Cree hymns. And I suppose I would say what he gave me after was Jello. I'd make Jello, and we'd eat Jello after our prayer. And in the morning, we'd have Jello for dessert with our porridge. And at 4 or 5 year old, I learned how to wash dishes, so that was my job, always. But in residential school, first thing you open your eyes, rosary. Close your eyes, rosary. It was no different from my home. That part, was okay. And the hard work, like washing the floor on your knees, the cement floor, they didn't even give us cushions. We had to do that. And our sanitary napkins, that part, I don't know if I should say it on video, but they were canvas, and we had to wash them. Oh my God. And we had to wash the garbage cans. And I still have my scar where, and I never wrote it when they were doing residential school compensation. I never wrote that stuff. I just went for the gusto what they were giving. Because my grandfather always said, never look back. Kapmuhtinoma, you're walking here on earth. You're making your journey to meet the Creator. Igunasay, you already came through those gates. So I never wrote, I busted my finger on, I'm not crippled because of it, but there's a big scar there. At a garbage can, there were metal galvanized, and it had a tear, and I put my hand in and I ripped my finger open. But I didn't go for that. I just went for whatever they were given. We had fun too. The girls, we ran away from residential school. I and Edna, Maxine, I think she was Burnstick, and Yvonne Paul. 4 of us. There was 5 of us that touched the Bible. We were going to run away. But one, Florence Kutney, said no. Okay. But we already had said, the Bible. And I know it's sacred because of my grandpa. So they brought a nun from Quebec. She never spoke a word of English. All she said was, oui, which was yes in French. We told her, we're running away tonight. Oui. And we'll be sure to take a toothbrush. Oui. So at evening, when all of it, like snacks, and there were studies, we always studied every night at school. And there was like congestion of the day scholars and the residential school, and they were busy separating the boys from the girls. And that when we took off, 4 of us took off. We got to this house, and we went to it, and it was Mrs. Lynch. She was the one that was sewing in the sewing room, mending our clothes. She knew we ran away. And she was good. She didn't say anything bad. She made bannock for us, put it in a brown bag to get you home so you won't be hungry. You'll go this way, you'll get to a Tasquin. She topped up our money for 4 of us to catch the bus to Edmonton. And It's okay, Tama. We were brave. We were going to do it. We got to the bus depot downtown, and I remember because of Gramps and I'd come with him. We'd catch the train and go to talk with Indian Affairs. Umakanak, he used to call them Skomauk, the big bosses. And we would catch a bus. 124, I memorized that. From the bus depot, we'd get Camsel. Oh, Father Rayom, not Father Mercredi. He was so happy we were there. He greeted us. He took us to this little dining room, gave us celery, crackers. We're so happy. So then I told the girls, we'll branch out, look for people from the reserve. They might have money. And there was one that I remember, old Butchie's Kutre, Dora Kutre's dad. He was in there. And who's going to ask him for some money to catch the bus to Mornville? Okay. So anyway, I guess I couldn't sing, but I was not. I didn't participate in the choir or singing in a class or whatever because we were junior high. The big thing there was to learn French. We had to learn French and we had to learn to write it. That was compulsory. And so we grasped it, but we couldn't talk Cree. But, we had our way of talking Cree to each other, the Hobima girls. I want to say that, I do miss my days that I could have had with my grandpa. I could have learned from him more those years. I finished my grade 10 to February, so I was a few months out of completing it when I got sick. I came home. And then those years that I missed out, I kind of made up till, his passing. I babied him and nursed him till he passed. He died in a lodge in Barhead because I couldn't lift him. But anyway, that was that. And just this summer, in August 2021, I had the blessing of being a part of a facilitator from Hobima, a young guy. He kept looking at me and whatever. But he brought back some, like the residential school days, the survivor concept that's going on at that level. And what did it mean to each one of us? He went in a circle. It came to my turn. I said, I put it together with this pandemic because I felt the same way. I missed, my grandchildren, my children, when the pandemic came in. The same emotional feeling came when I went to residential school in the bus. And I went with my spirit because my grandpa allowed it. And the same with this pandemic now. Somebody is imposing that on us. We have to live that way. We live in fear. Those same emotional feelings came back with this facilitator. And it was meant to be. That was his role. So I cried. I cried for those days. I cried because at that time, Harper made the national apology. We were all gathered at River Cree. Because of the heartache, the loneliness, we've come full circle for Dan and I. For me, my residential school took that away from me, and all I learned was grief, crying. We couldn't go to Mornville, my gramps and I in a wagon, till the agent signed a form for us. It's the same today. I can't differentiate that. And the next years to come, this generation that are in K4, maybe Creator will lead them through that again. Because Well, I see that my grandpa and his boys and his extended families, their families and whatnot, they talked about the epidemics that happened, the blankets, the smallpox, the flu, the Spanish flu. In the 30s, the hungry 30s, the war. And we persevered as a nation. We found a way. Agigwa, today, we're standing individually. You know, I left the reserve 32 years ago and I came back. It's so sad. So, so sad. We are not a family. Today, the emotional feeling that I get from it is that loneliness. But it isn't, you know, something that will go away. Because as an elder now, I still feel that emotion. Because now it's pandemic. Now we have to stay home. Now we have to have a paper to go in. So it's all repeating itself from the time of the treaty signing. It's all coming back.